What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Connor here, and on this week's edition of the Marvel Roundtable, we continue on to Phase 3 as we enter a new dimension, a new area in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This time, magic is introduced through the magic of Doctor Strange. Now, does this movie hold up in comparison to not only its most recent outing, but, well, the way we decided to watch it? We're going to break down not only the actual movie, but our personal experiences and how unique and magical they truly are as we take a look at 2016's Doctor Strange right here on the Marvel Roundtable. What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Connor, here on the Horny Goat YouTube channel and, of course, the Horny Goat podcasting network, where you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting platforms. And this, of course, is the Marvel Roundtable, the show where each and every single week we break down all the movies and TV shows in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You guys know me. I am Conor, and, of course, I am not alone here on this week's Marvel Roundtable. I've joined with me by the power couple of the Horny Goat channel. We got JP and Heather. What's up, y'all?
Tired.
Can't imagine why.
I haven't slept in 2 days.
Oh, jeez.
You know what you're lacking.
It's not the gums. I can tell you that right.
Well, we won't keep you too long, JP. But of course, we also have our favorite bear from upstairs, Canadian Basement. What up, Basement?
Oh man, this was a wild ride. Is all I'm gonna say.
Man,
my face was in neutral. My body was in fucking hyperdrive.
Face was in neutral. That's probably the best. That's probably the best description I could probably think of. We want to thank you all for tuning in, of course, to the live review. Apologies that we were not able to do this last night on our usual Monday night evenings, but unfortunately I was just exhausted, possibly still recovering from our outing on Saturday night, which we'll talk about in just a little bit and have some fun experiences sharing with all. But of course, if you guys guessed from the title, thumbnail, all that hoopla, we are talking about the original, the first Doctor Strange that was in 2016. We're going to talk about the movie, what we thought, what we remembered, and all the fun ups and downs in between. Of course, love to hear your thoughts as well. Joining us in the chat, of course, we got Alpha, Jurgen Mugen, Tim, and I think that's all the big ones in the chat right now. So appreciate you guys coming on in here to the live stream. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and of course, check us out on your favorite podcasting platforms. We're at 395 subscribers, so we are getting so close to our goal of 500 by the end of next month. So make sure you guys hit the sub button if you haven't done so already. So that being said, I don't want to keep JP up too late. I know JP does have, he said I haven't slept, unfortunately, in a couple of days, so I do want to get his quick opinions on that. But how's everyone doing since we haven't streamed in a couple of days?
Well, like I said, I went to the doctor today. Well, I went to the urgent care today, and they took an x-ray of my shoulders. I have arthritis.
Ugh.
So their only thing that they can do for me is Aleve or, ibuprofen and physical therapy. So
no more gummies?
At least I know it's nothing that's torn.
That's good. Yeah, that's true.
Because lately I've been like feeling kinks in every now and then I feel kinks. Like if I sit for a good amount of time or if I am reaching for something, my shoulder will pop.
Ugh.
And I looked it up and it was rotator cuff, but it's because I'm so stiff that it just causes pain. There's nothing I can do. Nothing they can do.
Sounds like you need some more sweet tarts in your life. No, I'm totally kidding.
Well, that was the part of my problem on Saturday. I woke up Sunday morning and you can ask Heather, I could not fucking move because I got into bed and like I said, those gummies, they're good for in the moment. Yeah, I'm not feeling pain.
Yeah.
But I'm moving around, I'm moving my shoulder, and I'm moving, like, I laid down in bed, and I'm like, fuck, my shoulder hurts, and I am fucking pulling on my fucking arm, stretching it out, and I'm like, it's hurting worse. Ugh. So I got up Sunday morning, and I was donezo.
Same. Not for the same reasons, but same. I was also donezo.
Fine,
Not
except for
super.
the pain. I felt fine except for the pain.
Well, right, of course. How you holding up, Heather?
I was pretty okay Sundays, just felt exhausted. I think that's my version of hungover. It's just I feel like I didn't sleep at all.
I
Yeah.
did have a hangover, a little bit of a headache on Saturday, but I don't know if that was a hangover or if it was just a headache.
Well, it sounds like at least it recovered relatively quickly, Heather.
I did.
How about you, Basement? How you feel?
You don't really get hungover from marijuana use or THC
I
use.
beg to differ.
You
No, I feel like it's more like how long it affects your system. And once it stops affecting your system, I mean, you could argue that's what a hangover is, but it's not the same as like an alcoholic hangover. You might feel a bit like blurred or a bit slow, but it's not like I want to shoot myself in the head. With an alcoholic hangover, it's completely different.
You're not severely dehydrated.
Oh
Right.
God, yeah, I had the worst
You know
fucking
what?
dry mouth.
This is where I did the smart thing. I drank fucking like 3 bottles of water during this stream.
I drank 2 of these big cups, and I still was like the next
Yeah,
morning.
at the end, that was fucking
Well,
all my
that's
soul had been
what
sucked out
this
of my
stuff
body.
does. It gives you cotton mouth.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I don't know if you guys found this, but like the morning after, I woke up early pissing constantly. I pissed like 12 times, man.
It's 'cause of the
It's
water.
like, holy shit. I go back to sleep half an hour, wake up, piss. Go back to sleep half an hour, wake up, piss. Oh my
JP's
lord.
every night is like
God. So
Jurgen said, "How bad is your authorities? Do you have?" My authorities are fine.
Arthritis.
I know. Arthritis is a mild case, but I asked the doctor and I said, "Does it hurt this bad?" It's like, "Yeah, and your shoulders it will because your shoulder can rotate almost 360 degrees."
Mhm.
right.
And
So
then he took off
it's
his
going
lab
to
coat.
it's going to affect it a little bit more.
Ugh,
And he was wearing a police uniform under and beat you to shit.
those authorities, man, they come up out of nowhere. So if anybody doesn't know what we're referring to or hasn't been able to put 2 and 2 together, we did do a special stream of No Bucks Given this past Saturday. The audio version will be yeah, I mean that's putting it lightly. Where some idiot, stupid, jackass genius decided to say, "Hey, why don't we all take edibles and watch the first Doctor Strange movie?" And that's exactly what we did. And let me tell you, just from my side, it was quite an experience.
I was enjoying it. I was laughing pretty much the whole time.
I was giggling at stupid
because
shit all the time.
everybody
That wasn't
was-
even funny.
every time. What the fuck is going on? Like in the movie, it's like watching the movie. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like,
I was probably the one watching the movie the most and took the littlest out of it. I didn't.
I mean, I've seen this movie enough times that I knew where to follow things, and I was telling before we got on here about like I remember everything going up to Kamar-Taj, and then it gets very I had to rewatch the movie for the stream tonight. Let's be real.
I mean, I tried, but then it all came back to me.
You're like, oh no.
I'm going to be operating on first watching it long time ago, second watching it brain dead, third watching part of it on a rewatch.
So I don't want to keep JP up too late. I know he has to get to bed, and I know he's not doing so hot this evening. So I'm going to give JP the floor real quick as far as your overall thoughts about the movie, and then your quick rating on it, because I don't want to keep you up too late.
again, it's typical formula for the Marvel movies. 10, 15 minutes into the movie,
he should be dead.
should be dead. Like nobody survives that. I don't care. Nobody survives.
It only
that.
hurt his hands.
No, it really.
It didn't even show it. Whatever.
Magic.
I'll talk.
It fucked him up pretty good. It fucked his hands up, and throughout the whole stream. If you go back and watch the stream, that's where Sally Magoo came in. Sally Magoo got finger blasted. Or how did they say that? Sally Magoo got
On the
finger
street corner.
blasted.
Finger blasting Sally Magoo on a street corner.
That's what happens when you finger blast Sally Magoo on the street corner.
Sally Magoo was alive and well more than any of us during the entire stream.
So
Oh my God.
I've seen this movie sober, and now I will say this: when they kept on going through the dimensions, I will say at one point, I'm like, I don't think that this movie is really a Marvel movie. If I could turn on Pink Floyd and listen to it, I could probably sync it up, and that would probably be the trip of a fucking lifetime.
Oh, fuck yes.
But at one point when I can't remember where it was. I think it was after the mirror dimension.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, I'm tripping. Because I did it. I said it at one point, dude, I'm tripping.
I remember you saying that a couple times. I think it was either the mirror dimension, the dark dimension, or when he's like warping through all the different realities at the very, very beginning.
And then there's one. I'm giving my synopsis of the movie, and here's one point that I will make. He doesn't have a superpower. He just learns how to do magic.
Yep.
But they don't explain. And basement will go into this, I'm sure, because he's
on the same ground you are.
He's like, this is a show about magic, but they don't explain what magic it is, and that to me confused the shit out of me.
It's such lazy fucking script writing.
And based on that, I mean, it is
middle of the road.
It's an okay movie.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's entertaining. The acting was pretty good. The story was okay until all they wanted you to do was trip. This movie was for people that like to get fucking high and go sit in a fucking movie theater and just be enthralled by what they're fucking seeing. That's it.
Us.
Yes. I mean, I said it 1,000 times. I hate this fucking movie. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Because there's no story here.
There's story.
Really, to me, there was a story, but it wasn't very well put together. That being said, if 4.5 out of 10, 4.5, 5 out of 10. I mean, it's not bad. It's an average movie.
Yeah. All right.
I think we'll all fall around where you fell.
There's a couple of things that when we get into the story of things in more detail that I actually agree with JP on, is that, like, you know, generally speaking, even watching this sober or clean, that's kind of how I felt too. Is that there was to me, this movie was very hollow in the sense of,
and that starts with the lead. Not the actual actor, but the character.
Yes. And we'll, without getting into too much spoiler territory of the second Doctor Strange, which we will, I think we're going to do at some point down the road. That's one of the things I actually liked about the sequel, is that it kind of flushed out the Doctor Strange character more, where this one felt like it was just establishing the concept of magic and the time stone in the MCU.
I felt like the sequel wasn't even a fucking Doctor Strange movie. But anyways, JP, go ahead.
I will say this. I know we try to do these reviews on standalone only.
Right.
But it is so hard to do that when I'm not a Marvel. So my thing is, I'm not a comic book reader, so I don't know a damn thing about Doctor Strange.
Well, I read comic books a long time ago. I haven't read comic books in a very long time, so I'm kind of in the same boat.
So I don't understand why this character is so. Again, you find out why he's so important in this universe later on, but it's not explaining anything to the extent where once one of those stones is shown, if you watch Endgame or Infinity War before, I think it's Infinity War. Yeah, it's Infinity War. Before you watch this movie, I think it makes more sense, to be honest with you, because why does he have an Infinity Stone? Why does he have the Time Stone? Why does this group of people have the Time Stone? What is the significance? And they don't go into that, and they should have.
Right.
That's my big problem with the movie. just showing me one of the stones is an aha moment.
Until you've already watched later movies.
But
I think if they like,
not only that, but they show you the stone and they give you that aha moment, and you think that they're gonna actually go into what this stone is all about. They really don't. I mean, he kind of does, but they don't. There's no explanation. He just does it. Like
Well,
he
I mean-
automatically becomes, and he has a telegraphic memory, which is fine.
Photograph.
But he photographic, so he can automatically he knows how to fucking do all this shit without being shown how to fucking do
well,
anything.
no, that's not necessarily what photographic memory.
Well,
But I
mean,
get what you're.
But like,
I sort of-
what I was gonna say is, do you think then what the Marvel universe would have benefited from, and it's all hindsight, and I think it's because they weren't prepared to do it when it came about, was to show the actual power of the collection of the Infinity Stones in some sort of flashback to when it had an effect on the universe
yes.
before any of the movies even fucking started.
Mhm.
Or at like the very beginning of the movies. But I mean, it just wasn't going to happen the way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe came to be.
But
I'm not saying they couldn't have done it before this because the plans were already in work.
So Tim said they weren't meant. They were meant to protect the stone, but not why they have to.
Yeah.
But why not?
You
Yeah,
can
it's
make
not
it-
it's
you
not
can
this
make
like
that explanation very, very vague and keep the spoilers out of this movie, but still give us answers that we need.
oh like
In
I
order
mean
for
it's
us
also
to want to continue watching the universe.
it's the explanation of every mechanic in this fucking film that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
It's just accept it because we're showing you it, and it's like, well, no, you're not. You're showing me a bunch of different things that magic can do, and you never really show me what's the limitations, or
Correct.
what like is it like by person or everybody can do the same shit?
Yeah.
Why is he always using a lasso or lasso or whatever the fuck while they're using fans and swords and shit? Like I just don't understand. I'd imagine you can create any form of martial weapon with it if you need to.
Mhm.
But that's just so easy to explain if you want to do it. Just fucking explain it.
This might make no sense, but bear with me on this in terms of my analogy. In my opinion, this would have made a better Disney Plus show than a movie.
Oh,
Did we,
absolutely.
did we not? Did we say that while watching? I feel like we
Basement,
did.
you're asking me to
Somebody
remember.
might have.
I mean, I remember saying it. I think I said it. I don't know. Or I'm adopting
You
someone
said it
else.
doesn't mean it actually communicated with your mouth and then made it out of your mouth.
I said
verbally
it in
to
my
us.
mind. I said a lot of things.
Oh, then we're good. Astral
You know
projection
what?
and
I might
shit.
have
There
said
we
it.
go.
I was muted half the fucking time. So
We'll
Not by the
say this,
microphone.
and then I will leave you guys to your review.
All right,
The
thank
end
you,
of the
JP.
movie- The
Have a
end
good
of the movie. I'm gonna try not to spoil anything. The end of the movie was stupid.
I'm
I'm saying
gonna agree with you on that.
Gives me the biggest
I
struggle.
understand, and I'm kind of giving something away if you haven't seen it. I understand why they kept doing it,
I mean, come on, you have to can we bargain?
but
Because we
my
talked about it
thing
during
was,
it.
is this whatever this entity was?
Yeah.
Or Mamu.
He could do this all fucking day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Peggy
So
Carter.
somehow he got under his skin and said, "Fuck this shit." Because he said, "I can do this all day too," because he had,
Right.
on his
Yeah.
wrist, and
Yeah.
it was just an infinite loop.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I don't understand why he would just at some point be like, I give up, whatever.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, whatever. I've only done this 20 fucking times. I'm just gonna give up. This guy has all the time in the world. Like, he can't figure out what he's fucking doing, which means that he's a fucking idiot entity.
Yep.
That's
My
all.
question is like, was he aging during this? Because he said I did it for. Well, how many times did he fucking do this? It's some ridiculous
From
amount.
what I remember in the movie, I can't remember because I was stoned.
It was like 40,000 or some shit, right?
It's something like 20 something
Is it-
times at least.
20 something times. I thought it was like 40,000 times.
They
Like
never
some
mentioned an
ridiculous
amount
number.
in the movie, to my knowledge.
So he just gets bored after 20 times.
I mean, he was stuck in an infinite loop, but we'll get there. We'll get there. But
All right.
Okay.
rest well,
You guys have a
JP.
great
Appreciate
night.
always having you on.
Have a good night, guys. Stay safe, be well, and like I said, should have died first 10 minutes of the movie.
Well, technically he does.
To Tim's point, they do eventually do say that the stones were either a byproduct of like the Big Bang, or they were the reason the universe exists
But they
somehow.
explain that not until Infinity War.
Yeah,
Which,
it
to their
happens
point.
much later.
But so I mean, we kind of already heard a little bit of Basements, a little bit of JP. Heather, what I mean, without going into too much detail, overall thoughts about the movie, stoned or otherwise.
Yeah. I did see this movie before, like a while
Smart.
ago again. Yeah. When it first came out on TV, I did watch it. And then I watched it again when we got Disney Plus. Overall, I am a big person of magic. I do love all of that. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so this should have been one of my favorites. But it's the slowest of all the Marvel movies up to this point, in my opinion.
Exposition fest.
I think you're definitely right on that. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
And you know what,
Hey,
Heather? You mentioned Harry Potter.
Mhm.
Harry Potter does a much better job of explaining magic than this movie does.
I mean, even and again, I don't want to get too much into the sequel of Doctor Strange, but
Shit either.
I think we need weed for that one too. But yeah, I mean, but you're right. It does drag on, and you would think that in a movie that is introducing essentially a new genre into the MCU, that they would have explained or exposited things a little bit more. I get that there's not enough time for certain things and that you have to try to make, but I'm agreeing with you that they should have.
I feel like they spent more time putting the time and effort into the CGI scenes of the mirror dimension, the different realities, the universe mode,
Those were
with
bomb,
being
but
the whole movie than the script.
yeah. No,
Then some of that didn't like. There's so much unexplained shit in this fucking movie. Like,
it really
Jesus Christ.
is. So,
Okay, so
You
one of the
stoned
main
again?
reasons, why I'm so frustrated with the fact that they don't explain anything is why I like X-Men so much. Because everybody has a power, and we get to know a limitation to that power, and not any power is like, even if you're like extremely superpowered, you have a weakness in some way,
Right.
shape or form, right? And this is just like, you're gonna introduce magic at like this brand new introduction to something. You're not gonna spend the fucking 2.5 hour runtime explaining what it actually is. Instead, you're gonna show fucking some dipshit walk around, break his hands. Like there's so much time in this movie where you could have done this, and instead it's like, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna punch your soul out of your body, and we're gonna go into some dimension where I can roll buildings on top of each other. Is everybody in the building dying? Like, what's happening here?
Maybe we don't know. Time. No, you're not wrong on that. So, I was going to go a little bit of a different route when we talk about the pre-production stuff, because at this point now, not only are we so deep into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think we kind of already know the story in terms of like, certain companies were trying to pick up these rights and trying to pick up these movies and whatnot. And really, Doctor Strange isn't too much different as far as, the concept and all that stuff. However, what was very interesting was who almost was Doctor Strange. Now, I will go on the record and say, number one, I'm a huge fan of Benedict Cumberbatch. I loved him in almost everything he's been in. And I honestly think that if you're looking at the casting decisions that Marvel has made, I think Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark was the number one. I think this one is probably for me number two. Not that I don't like Chris Evans as Captain America or Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
Hard to find a number two.
What?
They're all number ones to me. It's like the best possible choice.
Yes, they are all number one.
It's the best possible choice for all of them in my mind. I mean, I wouldn't put Doctor Strange over Captain America or Chris Hemsworth, in all honesty. And I feel like that I do kind of feel like where I probably would actually drop Doctor Strange is, it's not because of the casting, it's because of the writing. They're trying to make Tony Stark 2.0, but it ain't gonna happen with this character.
No, it's true. But what's interesting, so originally what happened is that when the early development of this movie, everyone, the director, Marvel, everyone envisioned Benedict Cumberbatch playing the role. However, by the end of June of the previous year when it was supposed to come out, Marvel had been reportedly looking at Tom Hardy and Jared
Idea is
Leto.
just- oh God, no! He's a disease.
Oh wait,
of
it gets better. So, Marvel then had a short list of people that they had considered for the role of Doctor Strange. And this list is very out there. You ready for this? So we have obviously the aforementioned Tom Hardy and Jared Leto. Apparently a person who was pushing heavily for the role for himself was Patrick Dempsey, which I can sort of see him, but I can't, like, I wouldn't, that would not be my first. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I feel like if he was gonna play anybody, he would have a better chance at Mr. Fantastic.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. You know what? I could definitely take that. So Marvel then had a short list of other actors they wanted to play the character, including Ethan Hawke.
Oh God, no.
Oscar Isaac, who we just saw both of them in Moon Knight. Ewan McGregor. I could see him doing it.
I don't know.
The whole problem with that is I would see that
Obi-Wan Kenobi
melding into Obi-Wan Kenobi in so many ways.
In all honesty, who is playing Doctor Strange is the best choice. He's got this weird, unique look to him. He looks like a fucking turtle in heat.
I mean, he does look like the comic book counterpart. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. But hold on, there's more people. Keanu Reeves.
No.
Nope. Colin Farrell.
No.
Jake Gyllenhaal. And this has to be a rib. Matthew McConaughey.
All right. Well, he's doing the magic circle. We're going to a different dimension, girl.
All right, we're going to go ahead to this mirror dimension and just going to go ahead and stop Dormammu or whatever.
You start seeing the fucking buildings overlapping each other. Trippy.
Whoa, man, the buildings aren't being built no more.
Perfect.
Apparently, Ryan Gosling had also had discussions to play the character as well. But while Reeves
I'm gonna actually see him more than the rest, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's like long and lanky.
However, it wasn't until October of that year that Cumberbatch entered negotiations to play the character, and then literally 2 months later, he was officially casted in December. Feige explained that Marvel had kept returning to him for the role while considering other actors, with Derrickson, the director, noting that even during discussions with Joaquin Phoenix, who was also in contention for it, he and Marvel still wanted to cast Cumberbatch as the role, or in the role. The company eventually decided to change the film's production schedule to fit around Cumberbatch's commitments, allowing him to join the project. So literally, they were so gung-ho about getting Benedict Cumberbatch that they moved and shifted the schedule of the film production so that they made sure it lined up with what he was currently working on. And good.
The perfect choice. He is the perfect
I remember him being on an episode with Graham Allen, who is a British talk show host. Fucking fantastic show. I love it to death. And the question came about of, well, what made you think about doing Doctor Strange? He's like, well, somebody approached me and sat there and said, you would make a great Doctor Strange. And he said, Doctor who? And the guy who was talking to said, well, that too.
He would be great.
But you know what? It comes off of like his previous work as Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Like, honestly, like the pompous dickhead, like, is kind of the character that he is in this movie.
I mean,
to an extent,
you're not wrong.
Right?
I mean,
he's
not. There are roles that I didn't really find him like, oh wow, I like it. But more often than not, he is able to knock it out of the park with his roles, almost no matter what it is. But you're right. I think that because
he's typecast as genius.
I mean, yeah, and he's able to. I mean, he was able to pull off like the quote unquote American accent so well, which I don't understand sometimes how great British actors are able to pull it off. I mean, maybe it's because I can't do British acting worth a shit. But
why, mate?
That is not even
pretty much.
But fucking give him the Emmy, folks. Give Basement the Emmy right here, right now.
I could play Captain Australia.
picturing you with like a kangaroo pouch and like a Superman costume.
Crocodile Dundee
Boomerang.
hat.
But anywho, let's get into the plot itself. And of course, forewarning, we are going to be talking about the entire plot of the original Doctor Strange movie.
Forewarning, I was fucked up when I watched it.
So was
So
I.
Heather,
So was I.
and so was Connor. So it's gonna be perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. We should probably do this with every Marvel movie. That way, JP can enjoy it more. So,
I don't know, man. I went to fucking a different world halfway through.
I think I went to the mirror dimension. So, at the very
Yours into thirds, dude.
what's that?
Stop moving.
I told him to cut his into thirds. He didn't listen. He said, I cut it in half. It's like, all right, you licked your finger and that shit made you fucking stoned already. What does that fucking tell you?
This coming from
did
the
kinda cut it.
mathematician too of the group, you know.
I cut it. I cut mine in like a bit bigger than half. So I was like, yeah, I used to smoke weed all the time. I'm super cool.
It
Then I was like,
still tasted like
man,
ass.
different world. I can still taste it in my mouth.
It's bad. So anyway, the movie kicks off with a sorcerer, later revealed to be the name Caecilius, tearing some pages from a chained book in an old, seemingly gothic library. His minions restrain the librarian/guardian with bands of energy, and Caecilius uses 2 large knives to decapitate the man and escapes with help from several followers. The owner of the book, known later on as the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, goes after them. As he flees, Caecilius bends, folds, and reshapes the streets and buildings of the city, kind of like Inception. Though she's a formidable magical fighter, the Ancient One is unable to pin down Caecilius, and he is able to escape. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we're thrusted into the middle of this conflict. We have no fucking idea what's going on. I will say that obviously this is a glimpse of the visual aspects of the crazy warped dimensions and realities that we see in Doctor Strange, which I know we just kind of said like the story was weak and everything, but for fuck's sake, the one thing I will give this movie is the visuals are phenomenal.
The thing is, the visuals are also like stolen.
Well, yeah.
And the more you just said fucking Inception, I'm like, the second movie literally is also robbing that cradle. I actually wish they just went full on and robbed the cradle instead of being like, we're gonna nitpick. No, you get in that cradle.
Oh, you mean like Dreams? Like they kind of
Yeah, like I mean that was a cool idea that they kind of played with a bit. But yeah, the visuals in this movie are great. And I think that honestly, without them, the movie would be fucking shit.
Oh, God, yes.
Can you imagine them trying to make this in like the 70s
Oh god.
or the 80s
Oh, just-
even?
Just be construction paper with the city on it while they roll it up slowly.
They put like wax paper over the lens. Oh God. I mean, I didn't mind being thrusted into the end of it, but I mean, Heather,
That is.
I felt a little off maybe because it's like, oh, we're once again introducing a brand new character in a new world to Marvel. Did it seem off to be like, oh, we're just gonna here's a thing right off the bat?
The whole beginning of the movie felt off because it's like, first off, who the fuck is this dude? Why is he here? Why is he trying to steal this? And who is this chick now? It's just all of those questions lined up don't make a very good entrance into your movie.
It's a hugely missed opportunity with the actor that they got, like the bad guy, Mads Mikkelsen. I don't know, I can't remember what his name was.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, no. What's the character's name?
Oh,
Character's name.
Caecilius.
So it's a huge missed opportunity because he's basically a fucking pile of shit that's useless throughout the movie. It gets replaced at the very end. But he is legitimately like a fucking ridiculously good actor. So like I'm surprised they just used him in that way.
I think that if they were gonna do, and this is just my opinion, I think that this scene should have been between, and we'll talk about this in a second, should have been between introducing Doctor Strange and right before he left the condo. That's when this scene should have happened. Right in between. Because then you have the setup of the main character, even though everything's not fully fleshed out yet. And then you see, oh shit, this thing's actually happening in the meantime. And then, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's some movies that's like, we're introducing the world of, in this case, the world of magic. And it's like, yeah, but if you're doing it and not really fleshing out even the fucking names of the characters, I mean, granted, we all figured this out later on in the movie, but it sort of puts the cart before the horse, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. Marvel wants to start with action, fine, but it only works when you start with action with characters we fucking know. Otherwise, it's just an action set piece with nothing on the line.
Yeah, so it just a misstep in my opportunity. So I mean, Heather made it, just piggybacking off Heather's idea or Heather's concept, that was or point. It was an excellent point. So speaking of which, we see in New York City, renowned surgeon Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, is cool and confident as he performs delicate brain operation at Metro General Hospital. As he finishes, his ex-girlfriend, Dr. Christine Palmer, played by Rachel McAdams, rushes in to show him an x-ray of a patient with a bullet lodged in his brain. He immediately dismisses the case as hopeless, but with further prodding from Christine, he realizes that the patient is comatose because his medulla oblongata had been poisoned by trace elements in the bullet. Strange realizes that he can save the man's life and goes to the ER surgery and quickly does a manual extraction with forceps, demonstrating his impressive hand control. The doctor who made the initial diagnosis, Nicodemus West, is left humiliated by Strange's overwhelming ego. And of course, later, Strange and Christine joke about their on-again, off-again relationship. And of course, she turns down his request to join him that evening. So this, I felt, was pretty effective as far as the setup, and why I go back to the point that I'm piggybacking off of Heather's thing of, here's your setup. You, in this 2.5 scenes, get the concept of Doctor Strange, who he is, his character more or less, and a general understanding of his relationship with the female protagonist. Relatively short, relatively sweet. Really don't need a whole lot to go off of at this point, right?
No.
I mean, it gets the job done,
It gets the job done, but at the same time, it's just one of those things of, again, with the scenes being out of order, it doesn't make a lot of sense at the same time.
My worry is too, I'm almost feeling like Doctor Strange would be better introduced in a world that in a MCU universe that didn't have Tony Stark, because the similarities are so close. Like, you got another fucking dickhead that's great at everything they do, that's the top of their game, but also not really morally. There's no moral center.
Mm-hmm.
They're the exact same fucking character. It's just one is
you're not wrong, and I think
technology, and the other one is fucking healthcare and science.
I mean, if you think about it too, right? They don't really interact. I mean, again,
no,
I don't like to veer
off.
off.
Mirror match.
No, what I'm saying is that they, and I try not to go veer off too much into the future, but we always do. So, it's not like they interact much. They literally have technically 2 movies with each other, right? And even then, the interactions are very, very brief, probably because of that fact. And I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Basement. They are basically more or less the same character, just one being magic and the other being technology, which that's why they had the fun little conflict with them in Infinity War at the end. But if you think about it, maybe they planned it that way, that Doctor Strange and Iron Man wouldn't really be 2 existing heroes for a very long period of time in the same worlds.
The only problem, I guess, is at this point, especially with this movie, the redundancy of character, because we're at the 4 mark. 5
Mm-hmm.
mark movie of seeing Iron Man. So he's basically been in 6, maybe. I don't know. He's basically been in
6.
half, if not more, of these movies.
Yep.
And now we're seeing him pretty much again in a different skin suit.
Basically.
which is why I think a lot of people have a problem with Doctor Strange, or can't connect with him, because it's again.
Not even just that. It's the pompous attitude and the fucking.
He's
I deserve to have better than you.
He's unlikable without the Tony Stark charm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know what?
And he never stops.
That is a big thing that I think all 3 of us made this point when we were blasted off of our minds. But even before that, which we'll talk about at the very end in terms of Strange's character at the end of this, but we'll talk more about that when we get to the actual end point. So So we have the setup. We have Strange, obviously. We kind of know a little bit about what's going on. Strange dresses for the evening in his expensive condo, pausing to choose from a drawer full of high-end watches. By the way, it was established during the operating scene that he doesn't like the watch being shown or hearing the ticking noise because I guess it's a distraction, right? Is that what it is? Okay, I want to make sure that was the reason. But of course, speeding out of his condo in his Lamborghini, Strange heads north. He calls an assistant to consider his next patients. Of course, he's in high demand, but he only wants difficult, interesting cases because, of course, he wants to fluff his own profile and, bigger, higher clients mean more money. But of course, distracted and driving recklessly, he crashes the car and plunges it into the river. As his car is wrecked, his hands slam into the dashboard. He is then airlifted back to his hospital, and Christine is there when he awakens, badly hurt. His hands have to be rebuilt and are immobilized in a framework of pins and wires. Recovering slowly after further surgeries, his hand remains stiff and shaky, and he can no longer work as a neurosurgeon. Feeling sorry for himself, Strange breaks up with Christine, but he hears about a man named Jonathan Pagborn who inexplicably recovered from a half-body paralysis. And Strange finds Pagborn playing basketball and tells the man and the man tells him that he found his cure in Carmertage. So,
A couple things.
yes, there's a lot to break down here.
I remember from the night of watching this.
All right, I gotta take a break for a second. You keep going because this is right about where I fell off too. So you keep going. I'll be right back.
It involves you son of a bitch. So when he goes in, he looks at his watches, right?
Yep.
And Connor's like, "Why are they circling?" like they're watches. That's what they do.
No, but I meant why are they spinning
I
in
know.
cases?
I know. But it fucking broke my mind in the moment.
But I'm like, why? There's why are the watches spinning? I don't get it.
That's why are the watches spinning? I'm like, it's a clock, man. That's what it does.
I hate you.
All high-end watches, so he needs to flash his ego a little more and have that high-value display where he sees them rotating.
Yeah, it's but I remember that point where he was talking about something and I was thinking something completely different and they both made sense. And that's the last time that happened because we went into Down Syndromeville after that. But to the point of what okay, so this Jonathan guy comes out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, my back was broke and I fixed it. What about a fucking War Machine? He's the exact same, and he's in the super fucking hero. Man, it's just it's now Jonathan, whatever his name is, has become a MacGuffin to introduce magic, which is to me very weird because it's I got it in my back. He's nobody special. He finds him playing basketball in the street corner or some shit. He's nobody special, right? From what I gather. So why is he in fucking Kirkenstan or whatever it's called?
I think they accepted him in and healed him because he just wanted to go back to his normal life. He didn't want to steal their
everybody
power.
wouldn't everybody know about this? A famous basketball player, NFL player gets injured, they go to fucking Kyrgyzstan and they heal themselves. It's such a weird pull for it to be some random dude.
Well, I think that's why they chose some random dude, because if it was some celebrity, it would have gotten out.
But storytelling wise, it's just I don't know. It feels they end up healing this fucking douchebag's hands to an extent. So they're not against high profile.
He's not high. The guy that he went
He's
to,
pretty big on the medical scene. So if he
why
comes
were
back
the watches spinning?
If he comes back and it's I got healed in Kyrgyzstan, it's the place.
I mean,
I felt like the connection between him going there is very weak. It's terrible. It's like storytelling. It's well, we need a reason for him to go there. This is it.
What, to Carmertage?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how it goes in the comics. But
what, he finds fucking
no, he tries
basketball?
to he basically he does injure his hands, and so that, and in order to, they kind of put something in between, the guy.
They had to.
What's that?
because they had to.
Right,
Like they
right,
have to
that's
give
my
a reason
point.
for why he's going there. But I think the reason could have been stronger than just some random fucking dude. And like the one thing I did like about it and like showed his character was when he like his hands. He's like, I could have done better
I actually
with
did
his
like,
hands
yeah,
and the
I did like that
fucking.
line. He was like, "Oh, I could have done better." It's like,
You're
you,
fucked, man. Why didn't you? Why?
you could,
Why did you? Like he's so dislikable.
you could have done better, and you know what you could have done better is drive a fucking better, you idiot.
Exactly. He's like, he blames everybody else. You were driving like a psycho on a fucking switch.
On the road.
God.
I also
A
like the fact
switchback
that
road.
none of this would have happened if an orderly actually did his orders and didn't, like, you know, break any sort of HIPAA laws and then actually revealed that this guy revealed his medical information without his prior consent. So that's a thing.
The computer graphics on his fucking crash were terrible.
They were hilarious, especially when his hands went into the car.
What I didn't get is like, did they really show that happen? Because I felt like his hands were on the steering wheel.
Things they showed before the airbag going off and him like leaning over the wheel.
I swear to God, the airbag went off and his hands were on the wheel.
No,
And
they
then I
were.
don't know
They
what
were.
happened.
There's when he goes in. There's like a split second beforehand where it zooms in on his hands going into like the dashboard.
With the steering wheel.
That's Lamborghinis for you. Car safety.
And that was fucking terrible.
Aside from
the whole sequence was terrible.
Aside from like the forced setup, I don't mind. Well, okay. Here's the thing. I like the setup of the story of you have a selfish person who has it taken away from him and seeing like the deterioration of him. Like, oh, he spent all his money. He's exhausted every resource he possibly can. And he can't get his hands fixed. So he's going to go the extreme route and go in this like, yo, I heard from a guy who heard from a friend who heard from a guy who heard from a friend kind of situation. And then going obviously the route of Camartage. That I don't mind.
I kind of mind something about it.
Well, the problem I have is the end result.
Yes, and I agree with you 1,000% because he gets rewarded for being a piece of shit.
It has to do with my biggest gripe of the whole movie, which is the very end, which we'll get to when we get there. But
well, I mean, the guy fucking goes through an accident because he's a dickhead, gets done through the accident, and he's a dickhead to everybody around him. He remains a dickhead, and then they give him magic powers.
The only other thing I wanted to mention or bring up is that, and I think I mentioned this right before I made a turning point in terms of our watch along, was why is he a dick to her? Why is he a dick to
everybody?
Well, yeah, but like
at that moment, he's lashing out because it's just like a character trait of his.
Right. And I sort of got that he was like trying not to be pitied, but
I've seen people like that as soon as like something goes wrong in their life, they attack everybody around them.
Yeah, but maybe it's just me, but just the way that was executed. And I'm not saying that's Benedict Cumberbatch's fault.
No.
I think
most of this movie's problems is writing. It's not the acting. The acting
I
no
think,
problem with acting.
If anything, I think he was the best actor of the entire movie, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna say like acting in Marvel movies, it's not necessarily ever the actor's fault. It's the material they're given.
No, I agree with you on that.
Because they snag some fucking high end actors, man. You've seen them do other things, and it's like as long as they're given like a comprehensive script, they can pull it off. But
yeah. But
a lot of this is very like
I just feel like that scene where he's snapping at Christine. He's saying, I mean, I'm sort of getting the message, and I kind of understand it from like that standpoint, based on like, oh, he's just lashing out, but just the lines they use.
Yeah,
it didn't.
I'd rather him. Sorry, Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, the wording that was used was definitely not the right wording to use. However, it's him lashing out at people is essentially his coping mechanism because nothing has ever gone wrong in his life before.
Right. No, yeah.
I'd like to see it like a bit of like, for realistic sake, I'd like to see a bit of self-pity before lashing out. Because like most people just don't jump to lashing out. They usually they'll be like, why did this happen to me? How could this happen to me? It's your fault or something like that, you know?
And you know what the other part of it is too, and maybe this is just me again, or the way I interpreted it. He didn't really hit rock bottom, did he?
No.
He lost his profession, And there was the line, I think, there's more things beyond your work, and or something like that, where it's like, oh, I don't have, without my work, I'm meaningless, or something along those lines. And yeah, it sucks to have lost his job, and he could have done other things. I actually did like the scene where he was trying to write his name, and he couldn't do it, and that part, like little shit like that, I appreciated.
I wish they spent a bit more time on him struggling with everyday tasks.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna
That would have
say.
helped a lot, like him trying to like pour coffee or cut food.
Yeah, like
Just, like
actually have him
regular
feel, or
things where it's like, not only has my profession been taken, but my fucking quality of life is
Yep.
gone.
just piss
And
everywhere.
that would have, yeah, well, like,
No,
yeah,
but
anything like that,
I'm
you know?
I'm agreeing with you in the sense of like, I didn't feel like he
He hit
hit
career rock bottom.
They
but he
said,
hit
oh, you're
life
pouring
rock
your money
bottom.
out and everything, and you're selling everything, but it didn't, like, he still had the house, he still had the condo. It's like, I didn't feel that
This is why
impact.
hollow is the best word for this fucking movie, because there was options to go to where you should have gone,
Yeah,
and they never go there because they just show the very surface level of like any trials and tribulations he has or anything he does like successful. It's all like very, we're gonna show you a glimpse,
yeah.
and you don't even need to spend a lot of time showing his like. You could do a fucking montage, like a 2-minute montage of him failing at things.
You're the worst around. Nothing's ever good.
Anything
know what?
for your
That
sake right now.
And that would have been better too, doing that little montage from the time of his surgery to him finding out about Comatage to fill in the time gap.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
he goes from this clean-shaven dude to Shaggy.
Which, like I said, little shit like that I appreciate. Like, he's not able to shave because his hands are all messed up. He's
But I
trying
also
to.
feel like he wasn't even willing to try shaving until he was ready to shave properly, which
Or
kind of speaks to the character a bit more.
no, that's a fair statement. But like, but even like, I've seen like, like the montages where they're like less than 30 fucking seconds, and you could show like, his bank accounts being depleted, or him selling off all those watches that he had, or, hearing like getting going through a list of mail, or like when Christine comes to visit him, she walks by a pile of rejection letters from doctors saying they're unwilling to do, you know what I mean? Like shit like that. Little things they could have added to just
I mean,
build.
there's so many little things. Like you use your hands for fucking everything. The fact that he could fail at the most mundane of tasks, fucking, you could fail at whipping your own ass. You could fail at
That's the
cutting
shit.
your
They should
own
have gone that
food.
route.
You could fail at holding a fucking Coke can or a can of anything or drink or anything. Like these little things would humanize him a lot more than him not being able, like, perceived to not be able to do the most complex tasks in the world.
Yeah. No,
Him not being able to do regular everyday shit would have made that character much more likable.
Oh, absolutely. It would have made it more real too.
it would have also made the story a little bit heavier. Like it would have had more emotional weight to it, because that, again, hollow is kind of the theme of this one. But anyway, so moving on through the story, we see Strange travels to Nepal and wanders the streets of Kathmandu, and of course he's noticed and followed by a group of muggers who want his watch. By the way, for someone who has a fucking doctorate and PhD, really smart to start punching people to defend yourself when your hands are completely fucked up. Way to go, genius. But of course, another sorcerer named Carl Mordo saves him from muggers and takes him to Karmartaj, where of course he meets the Ancient One. So,
Most inconspicuous man alive, Mordo.
yeah, the green
Like,
robe in the
that
middle of
scene
fucking nowhere.
killed me. He's walking through like town square, and you have fucking Mordo standing behind, like looking the other way with a big ass green suit on.
I want to say this the nicest way possible, so I'm trying my best here. Tilda Swinton is a very
Mickey Mouse.
oh god. I think Tilda Swinton was perfect for this role, and I think she was perfect for this role because it's a bizarre person for a bizarre role, and I think it just fit the right way.
She's also like very androgynous in terms of like sexuality when you look at her.
Yep.
She could be man, woman, child, mouse, God knows.
That's what it was in the house. So, I mean, like, I haven't really seen her in a whole lot of other things, but obviously she's a unique person. And I'm trying to be very nice when I say this, but I think,
She's a really good actress. I've seen her in a couple
but
things, but usually it's like British shit.
but I think again, as far as what they were going for and what they were trying to pull off, great casting choice.
No, she was whitewashing. It
Uh-huh.
should have been an Asian man. I don't know. Is the ancient one supposed to be
I
an Asian
mean, it
man?
was heavily implied in the comics, but then again, the comics were written so long ago that stereotypes were a great thing. But yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah.
So this is where shit gets real. The Ancient One knows all about Strange and introduces him to an alternative reality and many hidden universes and dimensions that could be harnessed for power and mystical guidance. So this is the part where, of course, he's like, oh, he's confronting the Ancient One about the person's bad back, and she explains that she didn't use tea and starts to showcase like essentially like chi and energy and stuff like that. And he starts to say like bogus bullshit. And then, of course, she launches him out of his astral self, brings him back into his body, and then opens his mind. And that's where all the trippy shit happens. At that point, I was gone.
It's gone at the beginning of this movie. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, this is that moment. I like the idea of it. It's just like, man, this. I have nothing against this part of this movie, actually, to be honest.
With the idea of him
This
being
is
like a
like
dick and
one of the
then
best parts.
I feel like it's the best part of the movie where he gets there and she's like, "Well, I didn't do it with tea. I didn't do it with anything that you would consider or be or able to conceive."
yeah.
And then she blows his fucking soul out of his body. And I mean, this is kind of like what this is the creation of that character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of Doctor Strange. So like they did this very well. I have no qualms against this part.
The one, well, yeah, this was a good setup. And then, of course, right after he goes, teach me, and she says no, and then kicks him out.
Yeah, this is like the fucking anime thing where you have to sit there on the stoop for fucking 20 like, the next 20 days, but he only sits on the stoop for like 12 hours and like get
5.
back in here. No, that's bad.
That's the only part of
That's
this movie
bad.
I remember from this. But anyway, so after this, they bring him in and they agree to teach him. I mean, Heather, what do you think of this setup so far? I mean, going into this with like him, like and the trippy scene and all that stuff. I mean, you know, with him being introduced to this world of magic, he's like, "Wow, shit, I just shit my pants, but please teach me." And they deny him and they bring him back in 5 hours later.
I think it's the slice of humble pie he needed, and he ate, but did not accept the lesson.
It's so contrived though, the 5 hour mark. I mean, this is more like you go back like at this point I would have appreciated him like staying out there for like a couple days, then having
Yeah.
to leave because he was like starving or some shit. And like I would have liked a scene where he left and came back or stayed there for a very long time. 5 hours is nothing. There's no point. There's no lesson.
I did. You know, it's funny. I was thinking that too in terms of like I wish they extended the gap between when he was kicked out and brought back in a little bit more. Even if he didn't go home, even if he went somewhere and realized like, but at the same time, it's like what
This
else?
is another point in time where you could have shown him leave there, go to like a restaurant and fucking Kripalstan or whatever the fuck they are, and like try to like cut his food, and he could or something along those lines.
I was actually going to say something along the lines of. I mean, I get your point. My suggestion would have been something like he goes to do something very like, he goes to do something that he can't do.
Or even medically oriented. Somebody like falls down with a heart attack and or something. He's like the only one there.
Or I was going to say something along the lines of like where he goes to try to do something and he can't do it, he can't do it, hands or otherwise. And then someone comes along and does that thing for him in a different way. And it makes him
That
understand,
would have worked.
hey, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
and then
I mean, that actually would have been perfect.
You know
I
what I
don't know
mean?
exactly what that thing would be in the moment, but like in time, you could find a writing excuse to make it
there
happen.
there was
I'm
this.
almost going from like chopsticks to fucking spoon.
Well,
idea here, okay.
there's the story I love to tell, and I don't get too sidetracked to this, but my dad once took me to the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, and it was a bunch of like puzzles and stuff and really cool things. And so in the very beginning of the main segment that you walk into to start going through the museum is a gate. So it's like the door of a gate fence, right? And it said, try to open the gate if you can. And so you see a bunch of these people trying to pull it, and they're trying to pull it, and they're trying to like shake it, and they're trying to like lift the hatch, and they can't do anything. And my dad just sits there and watches them for like 10 minutes. I'm like, what are you watching? He goes, I'm just looking at them. And he's watching how they're trying to do it. And after the 10 minutes, without saying a word, he just walks up to the door. Like, again, it's just the gate, like the door itself, and just lifts it up. He lifts the whole door up, and it unlocks it, and he pushes it open. And everyone, you just hear everyone in the room go, ah, like they would never have thought of doing it that way. So something like that.
Like the Captain America fucking. Is it Captain America where what's the one where it's like climb the pole?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah. Like something like that. Or, remember Patch Adams? The scene.
God, no.
No,
I've never seen it.
You never seen that movie?
No.
So
Ever since my friend kept calling it Adam's Patch.
well, first off, fuck that friend. Second of all, no. There's a scene in the movie where he's trying to like talk to somebody who they think is crazy, but he doesn't think he's crazy, and he's trying to establish trust with them, and he notices his cup is leaking, and so he takes off the Band-Aid from his he takes off his wrist tape from medical bracelet, like the ID tag, and he covers the leak on the cup, something that the other guy would never have thought of. So something like that. My point is like something like that would have opened his mind to the concept of he doesn't know everything he's fucking talking about, and like checks his ego out the door, just like Mordo warned him to when he first entered in. To me, would have been more of a.
I feel like that's actually much better than what I was thinking.
It's all good. It's all good.
So yes, 100% down with that idea. I mean, there's obvious. The thing is, we're sitting here. We're not fucking making movies and shit. There's a couple things that we've come up with to this point that would have made this movie better, and I can't believe a group of writers didn't think of it.
Oh, I can.
Like I said at the beginning of this, most of their time and energy went into the CGI effects than the fucking.
But the writing crew doesn't really have a huge amount to do with it.
But you have to understand that like also like studios and directors, you know this, studios and directors get their hands involved, and then they like,
these scenes would have been probably cut on the floor.
Exactly.
The movie could work without it. It's like cut it down.
I mean, yes, it's technically a movie. Whether the story is held up structurally from it, that's another story. But so at this point now, he's back in and he begins his training and slowly learns to open gates to jump across worlds, and he's starting to understand the concept of his training. And also, what they do. And it's revealed that they are part of a secret group saving the worlds from enemies in other dimensions and universes. And I think Wong actually explains it best, where he says, while the Avengers and other people fight, enemies that are on the real planes, we fight anything that is, cosmic or other dimensions and other universes. Fun fact, this is also the movie when he's doing the whole trippy thing that we hear the first word of multiverse thrown out in Marvel, which I'm sure we will never hear ever again.
I mean, Marvel's multiverse is like, think of like 50 possibilities. There you go.
Limitless possibilities, like 17.
The rage I have for the second movie.
Well, we will get there in a separate review. Don't worry about that.
I'm not going to speak on it, but oh my god.
Yeah. But of course, he also learns about other techniques, such as like opening the portals with the sling ring, to the point where the best teacher in the world, the Ancient One, strands him on fucking Mount Everest and nearly decides to have him freeze, with the concept of thinking that he's going to overcome the odds. But once
it's like throwing a kid into water that can't swim. Like it's
That works.
antiquated and terrible.
That works so well.
I guess it works dramatically, but in
So-
real world, you're killing that kid.
While training, of course, Mordo shows Strange a magic stick, a relic that can be used as a weapon, and says the relics must choose their user, and explains explains kind of the backstory of the previous character we saw earlier, that Caecilius was a former student of the Ancient One, but has stolen a spell from a book and escaped with 3 zealots, and there's worry that he will decipher the spell and call in Dormammu from the Dark Dimension to take over the world. Strange is, of course, upset and says he hasn't come to join their group, only, of course, to cure his hands. Strange then visits the Kamar-Taj's library, which is kept, of course, by one of my personal favorite characters in the entire MCU, Wong, played by, of course, Benedict Wong. Love this guy in almost every movie he's been in as far as the MCU. Cannot stress that enough, including the new Doctor Strange movie. So Strange becomes a voracious student, borrowing and reading many books from the humorless Wong. When he asks about the book that Caecilius was after, Wong explains that it's reserved for use only by the Sorcerer Supreme, and it's the one that Caecilius stole pages from. When Strange masters creating portals, he steals more books from the library and learns about astral projection, of course. And when one night, when Wong appears to be out of the library, Strange learns how to use a time-shifting pendant known as the Eye of Agamotto, which enables him to see the missing pages from the book. Before we get into that, let's go back to like the training aspect of everything he's learned. So it's also revealed that he has a photographic memory, which is why he was able to get like his master's and his PhD at the same time, and explains why he's such a brilliant individual is because he has this photographic memory and able to retain so much knowledge and information. He's also showcased that he's pretty much a very gifted, knowledgeable reader and learner, because he's able to master many fucking techniques in a very, very short amount of time. Which I can't tell if that's great character or plot convenience or a little bit of both.
It's plot convenience.
Also, fuck that library. It fucked my brain the whole time I was watching it.
Why?
And then I realized on the rewatch, I skipped forward. I never actually rewatched this movie. I've rewatched to a point, and then I gave up, and then I was just skipping forward in frames.
But why?
And I saw it was actually situated in a library where they just had these shelves protecting, I guess, like special books that needed to be locked up. And
Right.
I hated them. I hated the shelves.
Um,
We got 3 books to a shelf. How many shelves do you have? Like 50.
I mean,
why?
it would be more beneficial to turn them, this way. Whatever. I'm getting off topic, but the point,
No. They had to showcase the front.
of course,
Which
yeah,
none of them actually had front artwork. So they all looked the same.
that's true. They all did look kind of universal with the chains and everything in them, because I love how they're restricted, clip,
Yeah.
and then locks the chains. It's like, wow, I can't imagine how the fuck these things got stolen.
Place filled with fucking wizards that can make anything.
Right.
Fucking stupid.
Needed Dumbledore in this bitch. So I mean, I think it's a mix of plot convenience and the character itself, because in Marvel, Doctor Strange is obviously one of the most brilliant minds in all of Marvel's, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you need to be able to and even he says, he's like, I want to learn all these things, and the Ancient One's like, well, how'd you learn how to do medicine? He's like, study and practice. It's like, ta-da. But they never mention a time frame, right? Of how long it takes him to learn this
time
stuff.
frame for a lot of fucking things in this movie, to be honest.
This entire movie is it's time gap after time gap, but we don't know how big the time gaps are.
Every single time you need to think about how much time has passed, the answer is as much time as he needed to learn it.
Because theoretically, right? It's based off of what we've seen in the movie and no timetable as far as like how long it's taking him to learn stuff. It means realistically one of two things. Either Doctor Strange learns how to do all this crazy shit in a extraordinarily short amount of time. We're talking like weeks, if that. Or fucking Caecilius is one of the dumbest villains in Marvel history, because he has the ability to do, he has the page of what he needs to do, but yet for whatever reason isn't able to execute it until much further down the road.
And that's the problem
You know what I
with
mean?
not really cementing a timeline.
I mean, am I wrong in thinking that?
No, you're not. I mean, If he's been trained by the Ancient One, he should know that page and he should know how to execute what is on that page like that.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
he was
I mean-
trained by the Ancient One. So by that scenario, Doctor Strange would have to learn everything that he has learned super fast. Otherwise, this guy is not a very good student, or the Ancient One is not a very good teacher.
Or magic is fucking easy as shit to learn.
Yeah, I mean, take your pick on that one. So like this is where it gets frustrating.
The thing that kills me about this movie, the entire thing has to do with the core fundamentals of what the movie's based on: magic. How long it takes to learn, what you can do with it. Fucking nobody knows any of these, and it's so important to the story that I almost need to know it.
So like the what magic can do, right? That can be that part can, for me, can be left wide open, because realistically, that's a word to use in this fucking movie. In the context of storytelling, when it comes to magic, yes, there's probably rules and boundaries and stuff like that, because you, in my opinion, if you're writing any
Magic, especially because there's definitely a dark side to it.
Right. Well, I'm saying is, generally speaking, when it comes to any story about magic, in my opinion, you need to be able to set barriers and boundaries for either, not like fucking overpowering the characters to any sort of limit, but also to create barriers for them to presumably overcome those or go around them in order to, further the story on either side.
We'll also realize why somebody might become a powerful magic user. The thing is, it's like there's no nobody has any idea why you would be. I just got new to magic. Well, why can't you do fucking 12th level spell?
But yeah,
who knows? Who knows? It was never explained. Nobody knows anything. I don't even know, and I'm using it.
It's a little infuriating.
I mean, that's not the only thing.
Harry Potter did it very easily with, these are unforgivable spells.
Yep.
And even Harry Potter doesn't necessarily do a great job. I mean, in its own version of magic, yes, but it's like you can fucking do the most deadliest spell as long as you learn how to your wand moves and when to say things.
Realistically,
and your intent is there. I guess.
But really, there's not any big franchises that I think tell magic stories. Or how do we phrase this?
I mean, there's not a lot of big magic stories that are in cinema.
That's what I mean, is that there's not really major ones that I can think of that tell a perfect balance of how to portray it.
But the funny part is you play any fucking video game and you'll find out easy, very easy, how magic is used.
That's why we need a Doctor Strange MMORPG ASAP. Actually, depending on how they did that wouldn't be a bad fucking idea. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So he's learning all these things, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, fuck it, I've learned everything I need to learn, or he's getting cocky and arrogant again. So he learns how to use the time-shifting pendant known as the Eye of Agamotto, which enables him to see the missing page from the book that Caecilius stole. And it's actually pretty clever how he shows he's able to rewind an apple being bitten and showcasing it going forward to being rotten, and then also does it with the page in the book, which I'm going to get to that in just a second. Just bear with me. So, of course, as soon as he does this, you see a projection come up of almost the mirror dimension, which they explain earlier on during his training with the Ancient One, which the mirror dimension is basically a reflection of the real world, and that you can do things in the mirror dimension that don't necessarily affect the real world, at least, within people trapped in there. However, don't misplace your sling ring, because you want to be able to get the fuck out of there if you absolutely need to. So Mordo and Wong, of course, stop him from using from the Eye of Agamotto any further, and tell him it's forbidden to use the time spells, as they can cause time loops, spatial paradoxes, and all sorts of shit to the space-time continuum. Natural law. But that a wielder can be stuck in forever and also let evil forces into their universe. At this point in time, Wong also explains that there are 3 sanctums out there in the world, one in London, one in New York, and one in Hong Kong, where the group watches out over the world for those vague, those dimension universal threats. He also gives a little bit more of Dormammu's history, that he has been as a purely evil being bent on conquering all the known worlds, and that Earth has long been his ultimate target. So a little bit more fleshing out the backstory. I do like a tiny bit of the foreshadowing they have here with the Eye of Agamotto, as very tiny as it is. But other than that, it just kind of, oh, this is the part I wanted to kind of vent about, right? So Strange did create fucking time paradox because there are now 2 pages of that book.
Thing like I understand like the whole thing is as soon as you incorporate time and time reversal, you have to apply rules to it. Otherwise, your whole fucking shit is messed. He could literally
Yep.
bring back anybody that's died. He could do anything at any point in time if he's gonna put that time shit in motion. Which I feel like the time stone should have been, hey, I can rewind time within the last minute or some shit. Not like you can extend that, but like just not like whenever. Because god damn it, man, it's so powerful to the point
Yeah,
of
and obviously we're gonna.
there's no reason for anything else to happen in this fucking movie ever.
Luckily, this movie and only one other movie deals with time travel.
Time travel is like,
Is
you know,
is the
like a lot of
shits.
people have said like the jump the shark moment. Time travel is fucking always doing that. You can't really do time travel right, as it's very difficult, very fucking difficult to do. And I mean, I think there's only been like one fucking film I've ever seen that didn't. It was called Primer.
I was gonna
Other
say
than
Back to the
that,
Future.
no, they didn't even do that right.
I mean,
Like, oh, why does our son look like the guy I wanted to fuck when I was 15?
in my opinion, time travel in general, especially in major medium like this, is a big fucking headache.
Forward travel, I can get behind.
Anything.
Back travel, like going back in time.
Why'd you have to say the phrase
No.
forward travel I can get behind? Because that's the most confusing fucking sentence.
Forward travel, I can get behind.
Fucking hate you.
But back travel makes no sense.
While he's saying it, imagine if he said it while you were high.
I don't know.
Why are the watches
travel,
spinning?
baby. Oh fuck! Don't go there.
I mean, Heather. I mean, so technically now, I mean, they don't officially confirm it now, but they will confirm it when we get to Infinity War. We have now been introduced to the Time Stone now, which is the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Stone. It, in my opinion, it's the most powerful stone. You only need the time stone, to be honest.
Because we've been introduced to the space, reality, power, mind, and time. Yeah, this is the 5th one.
So the power stone.
Yes.
What does it actually fucking do?
Generates power.
Just makes you powerful.
Yep.
That's the worst.
What's the most powerful? Laser.
The time stone is ridiculous. Stab you in the heart.
They're
time
all
stone,
fucking
bitch.
ridiculous. But Heather, what
I'm
do you...
gonna go through 18,000 different times until I get to the time where you don't stab me in the heart.
No.
Or you can sit there and just make it so that that person that's going to stab you is never born. But
You're a baby.
Well, this is why limitations need to be like if you're gonna incorporate magic and time travel, limitations need to exist. I mean, I would actually like if they're gonna use magic. There's a whole framework of magic in fucking games and tabletop games and fucking lore before this. You can just choose. Like all that has is fucking limitations of what you can and can't do, and when you choose a certain magic type, you can't do a different other type of magic type. It would have made it make a lot more sense than be a Swiss Army knife of I'm going to do symbols with my hands.
I will say that at the very least with this, they kind of, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Maybe in this movie, but in like the grander scheme, you know what I mean?
I kind of hate the idea. Like, I mean, you get to that point in Endgame, and there's portals all over the place. So if I can make one, I can make a trillion. So there's no tax on the person doing it.
Yeah.
Which angers me kind of. Because like anything given should be taken away.
No, I get
it's the laws of fucking nature.
Yeah, fuck that. We're gonna just burn it to the ground. Heather, what do you think of like the introduction of the time stone and this whole concept of like them teasing like time paradoxes and spatial anomalies and all that stuff? I mean, we see Strange master everything. It's like, nope, fucking can't do that shit. And then we go from there.
From the first time watching this, that's when it's like, oh, fuck, we're gonna get time travel.
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's just it was one of those things of okay, great, we got another stone. Still, what the fuck are the importance of the stones?
Well, I mean, I like they do it on a small. This to me, like I know JP said earlier, it's like I would have liked to know the importance before the importance is shown. I'm okay with the way that they did it, to be honest. I just like I would like I said before, I would like to see some limitations as to what the power is, because if you can rebuild a apple, cool. You can rebuild
Steve Jobs.
shit that was stolen, which technically isn't gone. I mean, an
Right.
apple is like I'm gonna eat an apple, and that's different than stealing pages of a book and leaving with them. But now you're making a duplicate of them,
That's the
Yeah.
part that was like, no, that
which
that
is
creates a
like,
paradox because now there's two of something
yeah,
that shouldn't be.
yeah,
And-
it doesn't make any sense.
uh,
Yeah.
You ever see which one was it? Was it the second Austin Powers or the third one? I think it was the second one. And there's a scene where like
Second one was the time one. Yeah.
yeah, he's like, but Basil, if I go back to this and do that, and then I'll see myself, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. It's like, fuck yes. If you think about it too
Yeah.
much, it gets really infuriating. Quick shout out, I want to give some love to the chat. Of course, we saw Cody popping in. What's up, Cody? Jurgen, I have not seen that show, Marco Polo, but I've heard it was pretty damn good. Patch Adams
I heard it
is
was good too, actually.
he says Patch Adams is a Robin Williams good movie. I do agree with you that. We also got Frank from the Harsh Truth podcast. What's poppin', Frank? Alpha says that he thinks Back to the Future and the first two Terminator films did time travel fairly decent in his opinion. He goes, man, I need to watch Back to the Future. I haven't seen that movie in a while. I mean, I think they did time. Well, let me rephrase that. I think they did the first one and a half movies good with time travel. But,
I mean, Back to the Future is okay with time travel. I'd say Terminator 2 is better. The Terminator franchise goes on to be absolute shit with time travel.
yeah, you need,
But number two,
you need
number
a
two
PhD in fucking
number 2 was good.
like
So
goddamn.
I'll get behind that.
But
Yeah, I mean, time travel in the MCU, you're juggling everything in the fucking. You're juggling a franchise of 25, 30 films, and it's like, you know what this needs? Spice.
Time travel.
Oh my
God.
god, time travel. And time travel, in all honesty, pretty much retcons anything of any importance. And this is the thing that kills me. Like, they will introduce time travel in these series, and all of a sudden, it's not a thing.
Yep.
Just forget it's possible, even though we know it's possible. Forget it's possible. Forget we have the machine and the know-how and everything to do it.
Um,
When we get to that movie, that is going to be my biggest gripe.
yeah, it's probably gonna be mine too. I'll be honest with
How
you.
they get to it, and also how they get to it. It's like, oh, I woke up, had a coffee, and learned how time travel worked.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
Oh yeah. So anyway, back on Doctor Strange, we see that Caecilius has finally deciphered the stolen spell, and his group attacks the London Sanctum Sanctorum, a plain building with a logo window, just kind of like in the other Sanctum Sanctorums. The backlash from the London Sanctum throws Strange through a door and into the New York Sanctum. The building is, of course, deserted as he wanders the floor looking at various artifacts. He notices a burgundy cloak in a glass case that moves as he looks at it. Of course, at the end of the corridor, he finds 3 glass doors that turn out to be gateways to other places. And of course, the destination is changed by turning a dial next to each door. So, of course, convenience. Caecilius and his group next attack the New York Sanctum, with Strange developing fighting skills on the fly. Sure. He gets rid of 2 of the zealots and using the gateways and the burgundy cloak, a relic which seems to have some intelligence and wraps itself around him. The cloak helps him subdue the 3rd zealot and restrain Caecilius in an antique binding rack. Gotta love the kinky shit. But
yeah, that was 100% a sex toy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just it's submissive in every sense of the word. So Strange and Caecilius then have a talk about the Ancient One and immortality, in which Caecilius claims that the Ancient One achieved her long life using powers from the dark dimension. Once Strange lets his guard down, the 3rd zealot revives and, of course, stabs him. Strange manages to open a gate and stagger into a janitor's closet in Christine's hospital. And, of course, he finds her and barely manages to get on a table as Christine hooks him up to a heart monitor and performs emergency... Oh, God, I'm not even going to try to fucking pronounce this one. Emergency pericardiocentesis to drain the excess blood from around his heart. So, lot to take in there. So we see that Caecilius starts off by attacking one of the Sanctum Sanctorums and goes out to attack the second one where Strange shows up. And again, somehow is able to learn how to fight. We'll chalk that up to his magic training because that makes sense.
I mean, the funniest part of this whole thing is like half of this whole fucking scene is him in like a dick sucking suit, talking about serious shit. And every time they like change the angle, I'm like, I still know what he was in.
I can't
know.
I can't help but laugh, and I know this is really stupid when he's like, and you're Mr. Doctor. Mr. Doctor. It's Strange. Maybe, but who am I to judge? I don't give a shit. That was funny stuff. I don't care. That is the worst joke in this entire movie, and I loved every second of it. Fight scenes were kind of okay. I think the cloak.
Yeah, that's the problem.
What, the cloak?
The cloak fight scenes.
Every artifact chooses its warrior, and he gets the fancy, flashy cloak.
The other guy got a fucking stick.
Yeah.
I mean, the cloak choked a guy.
The fucking cloak. The cloak beats the shit out of 90% of the enemies.
Let's really put it on fucking Saturday night is Aladdin's rug.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's exactly what I got out of it. It's like Aladdin's fucking rug on his shoulders.
I mean, if it was me, I would have made the fucking cloak an adventure before I made the fucking Strange one. That thing was putting in work, man. It beat the shit out of like 90% of people.
Seriously. I did like that they were trying to explore some of the like more unknown artifacts. I kind of wish they did a little bit more, I'll be honest with you, in terms of like the random shit that's around the Sanctum Sanctorum that he doesn't even know what the fuck it does. And they even kind of made a joke about that, but it's like, yeah, because fuck it, how would you know everything right now? And then of course the bit of the twist where he basically confronts I don't know if he confronts the Ancient One yet. I don't think he does. But the idea that, hey, I was gonna say the Ancient One is a hypocrite, or presumably a hypocrite, because she uses magic from the Dark Dimension in order to make herself immortal.
Well, until
spoilers.
My favorite scene. The whole fucking movie.
Oh God. I mean, this is not the most action heavy. Actually, now that I think about this movie is not really crazy on action.
No.
Which I should be a fan of, but unfortunately,
I was gonna say, we went from too many fight scenes to really barely any in this movie.
Like, but the problem is, like, I do like the idea of like setting. They set this movie takes fucking 2 hours to set the groundwork for what? I don't even know. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, you could explain magic, you could explain what the fuck is going on, you could explain a multitude of things, but instead you explain nothing, and you spend 2 hours doing it.
Well,
fucking enrages me.
Not really,
man.
2 hours.
Well, now we're in 20 minutes.
So, while Christine's trying to do this procedure on Strange separates his astral body and continues to fight the Zealot, finally killing him with the help of Christine, who shocks him with a defibrillator, killing the Zealot, which I think was fucking hilarious. I'm sorry. Somehow Strange grabbed...
Why can she see his astral projection?
He like broke through and allowed her to see him. She couldn't...
Oh, I thought the recipient had to have some sort of power.
Well, he like there was like some sort of like barrier that he broke through in order to communicate with her in that way.
Casper.
I mean, that's what I got out of it. So, the Zealot is invisible to Christine, but she can tell something is going on and she's very spooked. Sewn up and recovering, Strange tells Christine that he must return and goes back through the portal in order to get back to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Caecilius has escaped and Mordo joins Strange in New York. The Ancient One also comes and suggests that Strange takes over the New York Sanctum. They're impressed with the magical cape known as the Cloak of Levitation has chosen him. However, Strange is reluctant to take the position until they tell... What?
Of all names, the Cloak of Levitation. It literally beat people to death earlier.
The Cloak of Brutality, then. However, Strange is reluctant to take the position until they tell him more about Caecilius.
They call it the police.
They don't know magic.
They don't need to.
So now we have I do there is one part of this I do enjoy about this whole craziness and this calamity is Strange being so upset that he took a life.
Well, it's because he's a doctor.
Right.
He's supposed to save lives.
Correct.
According to
Yeah,
his
but he's like an egotistical doctor.
But I'm
that-
just saying
that
is
would
that
never
it's
have gotten
one
into becoming a doctor to save lives.
but to me it showcases I mean
This is why he was driving on the other side of the road 99% of the time to save lives, guys.
my point is that like despite his ego he still adheres to some sort of code.
Yes.
And
Oh, it is like
I wish this was something that was flushed out a little bit more. Story of the fucking story of the movie.
I just feel like they do more work
I
making
know
him an
he
asshole
should
than
have
they do
been-
making him a hero.
Correct.
I honestly don't think he should have been as upset as he was, considering one, it wasn't him. It was between the cloak and his fucking ex-girlfriend that this dude died, not him.
Yeah, so blame
Like, if you're
blame
gonna
the
look at
ex.
his character, he would actually just get angry at everybody else. I mean, to be
Perfect.
honest, like he's never at fault. And so now him assuming fault for something
So you mean
He-
like how he didn't assume fault for the crash?
he didn't assume fault for the crash. He didn't assume fault for as soon as he got fucking his hands broke up, he's like somebody else couldn't do it better.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody's wrong but me.
But I do like the little bit of the twist where it's the concept of, oh, the Ancient One is actually a little bit hypocritical.
I do like that. I think there was ways to make him like to humanize the character that they literally avoided at multiple times.
Yes.
That is my
Yeah.
biggest gripe with this whole movie out of all the things is definitely the character growth or lack thereof of Strange, and I am going to butcher it hugely at the end of this review. But at this point, Caecilius returns with more zealots, and Strange creates the mirror dimension to contain the fight, which spills out into the street. Caecilius uses his power to shapeshift the city, as we saw in the opening scene, and disorients Strange. The Ancient One returns to help, but she falls and is mortally wounded. Strange then takes her to Christine's hospital, but of course it is too late. Strange then follows the Ancient One's spirit in his astral form. They talk overlooking New York City. She accepts
Oh,
this
this
as
is
her...
a really cool shot.
What, of her overlooking the city?
Yeah, and him talking to her.
Yeah,
While
that is
slow
a pretty good one.
lightning goes through.
She
Probably the best shot in the entire movie.
She accepts this as her fate and this is her end and suggests that Strange can take over from here. So it is confirmed that she basically, and in the course of this, she explains, yes, I did use the powers of the Dark Dimensions to make myself immortal because I needed to wait for the right person to come by and take over as Sorcerer Supreme, which, as we allude to later on in future movies, Strange is supposed to be the best of them, which...
But if only we knew
Yep.
how magic worked, we kind of could understand the dark and the light side to magic, which kind of spills into the next movie, but whatever, you know.
Can I just say, at this scene, before them talking on the balcony,
Mhm.
all I could think of was the fucking PSA from Ireland.
Or from Canada, because they're both equally bad.
I remember saying that on the stream, like, oh God, it's a Canadian PSA.
I don't know, man.
All I could think of at that moment, and remember, folks, we were not ourselves. We were impaired very heavily by this point. All I could think of was that at the end of the show, when she hit the pavement.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, that was pretty much the best moment of this movie.
It was.
I have questions. First of all, when they're rolling buildings on buildings, and it literally killed the guy. But what the fuck is actually happening?
In what, the mirror dimension or?
Well, I'm assuming any dimension. Why do the buildings exist and who's in them? Are there people? Is it just fucking
In
buildings?
the mirror dimension.
Yes.
There's
Yeah,
no.
why I'm confused is because the mirror dimension just comes out of nowhere in the regular dimension.
No, it's a pocket dimension. So it's a reflective. It's reflective of the real world, but there's no people in it other than people who enter into it. So it's not like people who like willingly go into the mirror dimension.
Okay, but then she fell off of the buildings in the mirror dimension into the real world.
Yep.
Okay.
She fell through the mirror dimension,
Oh my god.
out of it.
I need someone to draw me up a map.
A
But I will
dimensional
say
map?
the funniest fucking part of this
Fucking,
movie
we need
is-
to draw a cube in like 3
is
dimensions.
that they wrapped her in like a yellow duffel bag.
Oh, I was dying
threw
laughing
us-
at that scene too, where she just drops dead, and I'm like, they stay on her a little too long.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god. they
Like,
really-
what the?
they
Why?
went-
Like,
they
I
went
should
all
be.
out on that.
I
for
shouldn't
some
be
reason.
laughing, but I'm laughing so hysterically at this.
And I was like, they gave her the glass ceiling buffer. But all for naught because she
tarp.
splatted like a motherfucker.
Oh yeah. Oh
my
god.
god.
So at this point, we go back to the New York Sanctum, and Strange and Mordo realize that Hong Kong is next on Caecilius's list. They gate over, but the Hong Kong Sanctum has been overrun, and the destructive force is enveloping the city. Wong, who was guarding it, has been killed, and Dormammu's dark dimension is growing from the location of the Sanctum. Strange then uses the Eye of Agamotto to start reversing the process, but Caecilius recovers and manages to stun Strange, stopping the process before it can be completed. Okay, so here's a couple things to back up on. The first is he's like, fuck it, I'm going to use the Eye of Agamotto, and reverses a bunch of shit. Visually, I fucking love this. Especially when we got, I think I even said this when we were doing the live streaming, I loved how like there was a part where like Caecilius goes to attack him and Strange throws him against the building, and he reverses time so that the building's bricks engulf him back into the wall.
You did say it during it because I remember that.
What's that?
You did say it during it because I remember that.
I'm like,
That's one of the several
I was like,
things that I
man, there's a
remember
really
from
cool part where like this part happened and have like, oh, there it is.
My question is, why didn't he reverse her falling off a building?
Don't ask questions. So,
Mirror dimension, bitch.
yeah, we'll go with that. So, so visually, this is really cool. I did see like, Strange using the powers to reverse Caecilius back. He's able to break free. And then this is where I should say this is where shit gets weird for me. This is where I get a little bit irked. So Caecilius recovers and manages to stun Strange, stopping the process of the time reversal before he can complete it, right? But then Strange just flies off into the dark dimension. What?
That's where the plot needed him to be.
But like, there's no fight. There's no like. I mean, there's sort of
There's
a
no
fight.
in this movie at all.
But, like-
there's no end
I
fight.
remember most of this movie, he's running the fuck away.
I know. But my point is like, he reverses.
It's a damp dick villain that turns into another villain that's also like a damp dick villain.
But like, he reverses time back. Okay, Caecilius stops it. Fine. So what stopped Caecilius from attempting to kill Strange or Mordo or Wong again? And Strange is just like, I'm gonna fucking fly over. And originally I thought he stopped time, because that would make sense if he stopped everything and then like thought of his solution and then flew up to the dark dimension. But no, he didn't, because he flies up and kind of like, see, even he knows that the fate's inevitable. It's like, what the fuck? Why are anybody of you just standing around?
I feel like if I was a villain and I had to fight somebody that could literally reverse time, I'm giving up. There's no point anymore. Like, what the fuck? What is the point?
I mean,
of doing anything if it can be undone immediately?
We did see that Caecilius is able to break free of the effects of it.
Him as a person, but not his actions.
No, his actions.
He was running forward while everybody was going backwards.
Yeah.
No, but, so he shoots somebody in the head. Are they going to stay dead, or
I don't know. But I got irked at this part, because it's like, if he stopped time, I would understand, because then he would think about the idea, go up to the dark dimension, and start whole that process. But it's like, hey guys, I'll be right back. And then just that. I don't. Caecilius is one of the worst Marvel villains. I'm just throwing this out there
Well,
right now.
this is the problem. Like they completely wasted this
Oh my
guy.
fucking god!
It's such a waste, and he's in what I'm gonna say 20 minutes of a 2-hour movie,
Maybe
Yeah.
30 if we're pushing it.
and he does nothing. Nobody cares about what he does, and in the end, he's just replaced by a fucking CGI head.
Which
Yeah.
is ironically Benedict Cumberbatch again. I don't know if you knew that. Dormammu is
wasn't he Smog as well?
yes.
And,
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was, right?
So here comes the fun part. Strange confronts Dormammu in the Dark Dimension and manages to create an infinite time loop where Dormammu kills Strange in various ways, but every time Strange dies, time is always reset to the start of the confrontation. This goes on several times where Dormammu is, of course, furious, but finally agrees to leave Earth alone in return for Strange stopping the time loop. Back on the street, Strange sends Caecilius and his crew into the Dark Dimension just before the entire thing vanishes.
And this is where the meme, Doctor Strange, the only Marvel hero to make a supervillain rage quit, was born.
Dormammu,
I mean, like
I've come to bargain.
now thinking about it, it's like unless he has control over the time stone, he is forced into this. So all he's doing is wasting time. I mean, the thing is, I don't know Dormammu. Is he infinite? Can he live forever?
He is immortal. Yes.
Okay, so then time is nothing to him. So
Right.
then just wait until Doctor Strange dies.
Well, no, because here's the problem.
It's an infinite time loop, so
But-
it'll always be that exact
Yeah,
moment in
he
time.
can't do
Well,
anything.
now I don't know.
It'll never get younger. It's always that moment in time.
Yeah.
But is Doctor Strange aging while this happens?
No.
Because
It's a
then he
time
would
loop.
forget his. But then he would forget his plan.
He wouldn't. He
'Cause
remembers
again,
it
it's
every time he
time loop.
starts.
It's basically rewinding.
I don't
playing,
know.
play
I
again.
feel like there's.
Rewinding again.
It's constantly the same 30.
So here's the thing. Or
yeah.
here's the thing. If you had to do it 1,000 times, why would any time be different than the first time he did it?
It wouldn't.
But it is.
Because because Dormammu is choosing to kill him in different ways. That's literally the only thing that changes. Other than that,
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
yeah. So other than that, let's say whatever, like a minute. I'm just gonna say this as an example. That minute is constant. Can't go any further back. You can't go any further forward. You are stuck in that minute. So if Dormammu wants to take over Earth and let's say other dimensions or whatever, he can't because he's stuck there in that time. He can't go any further back and he can't go any further forward. So in a lot of ways, I think it was a clever way to defeat the enemy.
I mean, I think like the problem is like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't with Marvel. You can have the like big explosive finale, or you can have the mental fight finale. And people are gonna like dislike or like whatever he did. I like the idea of him like doing this. I just don't like the idea of it like being the finale because first of all, we know nothing about this Dormammu at all. And the villain that they created was easily defeated. So it's almost like a limp dick finale. I like the idea of it because I think it speaks volumes more to the character and like the use of the time stone. But I don't know. In the end, it's kind of like you're left feeling somewhat unsatisfied.
I think because, and maybe this is just me, and it's kind of piggybacking off what we've been kind of sort of complaining about with this movie is the lack of, it's hollow. So you have a weak villain, you have a weak
explanation of like core structure, I guess.
Yeah, I mean Dormammu is one of the most powerful villains in Marvel,
and you got a weak exit for him.
Aside from just hearing about him coming, we don't see anything that shows us as a potential threat to him. You know what I mean?
We have no idea what he can do until he shows up as Zordon.
And even then, we see most of his shit through Caecilius. And Caecilius, I'm not gonna lie, one of the worst Marvel villains in the
He
entire.
he goes at the same level as that fucking, I guess he's like the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well,
Ronan. It's
no, I actually argue Ronan's a better villain because at least he fucked up a little bit of the Nova Corps.
I guess, but
I know
don't know,
it's
man.
I'm grasping at straws. I understand that.
Yeah.
But my
I mean,
point is,
he's definitely one of the worst. I can 100% agree with you that there.
but like, and I know we're beating a dead horse here when I say that like Marvel's villains are one of the worst things about the movies. But this is I mean, don't get me wrong, this is not the only problem with the movie, but this is a major issue when it comes to especially the finale. I love that the finale, I think the finale is clever in terms of a different solution and resolution. And especially with what Mordo says at the end, I do like that aspect of it, but it lacks a lot of oomph and like punching power. You know what I mean? Like it lacks a lot of like follow through or at least like
I would
weight
also
to
say
it.
like the lack of like credible Marvel villains is the is to the biggest detriment of the Marvel brand.
We're gonna get some good
Like
ones soon. We're gonna get some really good
I
ones
mean,
soon.
we've had a couple good ones before, but like I do feel like your heroes are only going to be as good as your villains.
Mhm.
So you need to put the same amount of effort and time into both, and with the ability to make a cinematic universe, you can do that. You can have like the first say uh Thor movie be about Thor, then the second Thor movie be about the villain a bit more. That then there's a clash off in Thor 3.
Yeah.
That's kind of the formula that I would have gone with, because you need to highlight some sort of villains, or else all they're doing is beating to death fucking clones. And that
Well,
happens more often than not.
right, and we've seen that enough in a lot of the other movies, and I think that at this point, I always say this the right way.
Even when it comes to like Thanos, I would have loved for his villains like that are with him
Oh,
to be established.
the Black Order. Yeah,
To be established in some other
I
movies
agree with you
where
that
they were overarching, but they weren't the main villain, but they were like highlighted in some way. It would have added some weight.
see the thing is, and I can't say this is all the Marvel movies that introduce a new superhero or a new character as far as the main, but I feel like that tends to be more often than not the case. When they're introducing someone new, the villain is generally weaker, but and then it's like, okay, well, we need to go to the well and try to tap this again. But I think the original point is that I think that I enjoyed the time loop ending, but I think that because Caecilius sucked, we didn't really get a lot of weight to Dormammu until that last scene, and even that I argue was not really much weight to it. It's like, oh, look, sky's turning different colors, or at least show us what he did to other fucking dimensions or something. You know what I mean? But anyway,
Any explanation of him, if they had shown what he had done in the past, it would have made it more impactful.
Yeah,
when he showed up at this time.
Correct. That's exactly what I was gonna. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But the one thing I did like about this as a follow up was when Strange does all that and Caecilius and the other crew get banished to the Dark Dimension. Mordo gets pissed and says, Strange broke the rules using the time pendant, and the Ancient One used what he considered to be forbidden powers to prolong her life. And before she died, the Ancient One warned Strange that Mordo was very big on following the rules, both his weakness and his strength, and that Strange's flexibility would be an important factor when they worked together. But Mordo says there must be a reckoning, and he retires from their group and walks away. That is actually one thing I actually really, really liked about this, was that, you know, he's always like, the bill comes due. And the point is that, yeah, you broke fucking natural law to win the day, but there will be consequences for your actions, which we kind of don't see anytime soon. But the fact that they leave that open at the very least, or at least have Mordo's character open like that at the very least, I did enjoy.
I had problems with Mordo through this whole fucking movie because I watched Serenity fucking years ago. Same fucking character. It's like, dude, you can arc your abilities a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, basically, did you like the Mordo character?
Didn't mind him. I mean, like, yeah, makes a reappearance eventually, but like in this, I mean, at this point, I don't care.
Yeah, I wish they did more in other things, but I mean, who knows?
I mean,
Who knows?
at this point, this is, I would have liked him more. God, it's gonna be spoiler as fuck. I mean, how okay?
You would have liked if
between the
they
Doctor
explored this
Strange-
more in the sequel.
Well, between Doctor Strange movies,
Mhm.
how long has it been?
Let's see.
5 years?
No,
Because it came out in
7.
2016.
7. So according,
Oh, yeah, that's a huge stretch.
So here's the thing: anything that takes place after Endgame is considered to take place in either 2023 or 2024.
Okay,
So it's presumably somewhere in that, yeah, because 5 years passed.
Yeah.
and I mean, for fuck's sakes, man! 5 years passed and people 5 years passed, people disappear. There are gonna be you're ripe for the pickings, and they don't do any of that. It's like, oh my god, my wife just disappeared. I married somebody, and everything's fucked now.
Good, cool, moving on.
I mean, there's so many things that like matter more. You think the world? It's like the fucked up thing is like they're showing like, oh, 5 years, people disappeared. The world is a bit not right. I mean, I think the world would be fucking destroyed for the most part.
We'll get to that when we get to Endgame. We only have 4 more movies in between. No, that's Infinity War. We still got a little ways to go. But anyway, so officially Strange takes over the New York Sanctum. He puts on the Eye of Agamotto back in its guarded place at Carmitage, where Wong tells him a little extra secret about the eye, which is that it contains one of the 6 Infinity Stones. Dun dun dun. Finally, we get the 2 credit scenes. The first mid-credit scene, we see Strange decide to help Thor, who has brought his brother Loki to Earth in search for their father, Odin. And of course, the post-credit scene, we see Baron Mordo visiting Pangborn and strips him of the magic he used to, of course, restore his walking capabilities. Pangborn collapses in heat as Mordo coldly states that the problem in the world now is that there are too many sorcerers on Earth. So again, hopefully setting something up for Mordo in the future.
I mean,
and a scene
poor,
from
poor Benjamin Bratt.
And of course, we see a scene that will eventually find its way into Thor Ragnarok, which we'll talk about a few more movies down the road. So that being said, I'm going to give Heather the floor on this one. Tell us your thoughts overall on the first Doctor Strange movie and what you would rate it out of 10.
I mentioned it at the very start of the show. This is the slowest Marvel movie ever in the history of fucking Marvel movies. And this is after Iron Man 3, for crying out fucking loud. I mean, I wanted so badly to like this movie because I like Doctor Strange. I like the magic world. I like the possibility of there being basically a magician for an Avenger. But there was so many missed opportunities with this movie that it just drags it down to needing to be high to watch it and actually fully enjoy this movie.
Even then,
Why
are the watches moving?
When you're high, it's the moving scenes that are super pretty, and then it's the talking scenes where it's just like, what the fuck?
Yep.
And then it's vice versa when you're sober. The talking scenes, or some of them, are nice and pretty, and then the moving scenes are, what the fuck? So it's just this. There's, again, so many missed opportunities with this movie that I was actually quite disappointed with it.
So,
and
yep.
And I hate to say it. I hate it because, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I'm a big superhero fan. I am more of a DC girl than a Marvel girl, but
Kidding.
But it's definitely, If we on this tiny little podcast can come up with just 2 30-second ideas that made this movie better in our eyes, what is Hollywood missing? And are we in the wrong careers?
I think we're in the wrong careers, personally speaking. But what would you then, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, what would you rate Doctor Strange?
I'm a little higher than JP. I'm 4.5, 5. Lower, upper low range to mid range for the movies. They did so well with Guardians and Thor, introducing a new character and fleshing out those stories enough to make them believable. But then they fall short with the easiest story to fucking tell. It's just, I had high hopes. The hopes were dashed.
So you're saying 4.5, 5?
Yeah.
All right. Basement.
Oh my god. I mean, the thing is, like, up to this point, Marvel's like power scaling has been very questionable
Oh, don't
in
even
terms of
fucking.
like who can do what and what can they live through and what can be done and who can what is feasible. This movie just solidifies the fact they don't give a shit about but telling you what and this is where I'm done. Like when you has a company just say we can do whatever we want and you're gonna have to accept it, it's like you stop actually writing. You're just writing a shitty. Like I look at this and I think it's written by fucking brain dead monkeys. Like honestly, like this movie is terribly written. It has a lot to do with the Marvel influence, where it's like, well, why can they do this? Well, don't worry about that. We won't explain it. We'll never explain it. Don't worry about that.
No, we're good.
I
It's
mean,
fine.
like this is where like my problem with turning a blind eye to superhero movies turns a blind eye, because no, I'm no longer willing to just accept things as they're shown, because I might as well watch somebody throw shit against the wall. Like at this point,
At least sometimes
it's like,
it
oh,
sticks.
it's really cool. It's really cool. Hey, it's Doctor Strange. I saw him in a comic book. Hey, bro. It's like, no, like there is intricacies to everything in the comic universe that they do touch on, but the power scaling and shit like that, they don't give a fucking flying shit about. And it completely ruins the storyline, because in my mind, I have no idea what they're capable of. I have no idea what like at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, he's fighting Dormammu or whatever, and he can reverse time a million times. Why couldn't you just reverse time when she fell off the fucking building? Or
That
ever
was a pretty good point.
anything that went against you, reverse time.
Yeah.
It's a broken mechanic. It's terrible writing. When I watched this originally, I liked this movie. I'm like, I like Doctor Strange. Watching it a second time, even high, I kind of hate this fucking movie.
Even
To
high.
be honest. Oh my god! It's just like the visuals are great, but the visuals are stolen from a better movie than this. So I can't even give them credit there. Like to be honest with you, this is like an amalgamation of the worst writing and great, but to an extent, great visuals that are stolen from a movie better than them. So how can I sit here and give this movie a good review? I just can't.
So then, what
It's
would you?
never gonna happen.
What would you rank it then?
Fucking this is on Iron Man 3 levels, whatever that was.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10,
Ooh.
because and you know what, they did the visuals look nice, and the whole scenery and shit like that looked great, and the trip to the multiverse looked great. But if all you've got is looks and you're dead on the inside and you have no personality, you're a 3 out of 10, girl.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of give an unfair question here, without going, because myself, Basement, and Gina have seen the new Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Heather has not yet seen it. Without going into too much detail, huh?
I'm not paying to see that movie.
There. Basement, would you say that the sequel is better than the original?
No,
Really?
I think they're the same fucking problems exist in both movies.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that. I do believe the plan is to eventually do a Doctor Strange 2 review, possibly this week, and strike while the iron's hot. But we'll see how things goes. Make sure you guys check out the channel and subscribe and all that stuff. I'm not gonna spend too much time on
3 out of 10 is really harsh. That's really harsh. I feel bad about that. I mean,
But I stand by
I
it.
think the movie as a whole, I mean, it's watchable. 3 out of 10 is dangerous. Like, I mean, I'll probably sit with Heather and JP if around a 5. I'm 5 out of 10. I mean, there's enough. Like, the thing is, I watched this movie like 3 or 4 times now, so there's enough for me to watch
well, high for
that
sure,
much.
right?
Well, I watched it sober, and then I watched it sober, and then I watched it high, and then I watched it on fast forward.
Would you recommend the high as like 10 out of 10?
No.
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 No, I meant the experience of watching it high.
No.
All right.
I was in 18th row of hell, man.
So I'm kind of on the same page with you guys. I mean, at this point, we've seen, we're now on the 6, 12. This is the 14th Marvel movie we've watched in the MCU. 14th. And we've obviously seen better. We've obviously seen worse. So I do agree that it is kind of middle of the road. The two biggest, the two biggest problems I have with this movie is actually the two problems combined is that, and this is kind of me going against our rule of, we want to isolate these movies by themselves, but it is a setup. Really, at the end of the movie, all you take away from it is, Doctor Strange is now Sorcerer Supreme. That's really the only takeaway. Oh, and the Time Stone's now a thing. And
because he's not.
What?
He's not.
He is.
No, he isn't.
He's Sorcerer Supreme at the end of the movie.
Well, he's not in the sequel.
You're right. He's not in the sequel because they explain that in Spider-Man.
Oh, a movie I haven't watched.
Anyway, this isn't spoiling too much. He explains that because he was snapped away, Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme.
Okay.
See? Makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
What do you mean it doesn't? When Thanos snapped away, Strange disappeared.
Why wouldn't he come back and assume the mantle that he had?
Because Wong was already the Sorcerer Supreme.
That makes no sense.
I think it makes total sense.
No
gives these backsies, dude.
It's like, oh man, the president's sick and he has to fucking be.
He was presumed
be in
dead.
a hospital bed for like 6 months.
He was presumed dead. Anyway, point is.
But he's not the only one. You think everybody lost their jobs? After the
a lot of people. We'll get into that. Anyway.
No, we won't because they never do.
The only thing that the point is at the end of this movie, the only thing that I take away from it is Strange is Sorcerer Supreme. That's it. Oh, and the Time Stone's introduced. That's it. Those are the only two real ramifications from this movie. You don't really get any major knowledge as far as his magical abilities. Yes, he has the Eye of Agamotto that has the Time Stone. That's really the only thing. Oh, and the cloak. What?
And he gets a levitating cape.
And that's really it. That's all we really know from this.
A fucking brawler.
And so, like I said at the beginning of this review, the movie is very hollow in terms of the story, fleshing out a lot of the backstory stuff. And I can't remember if Basement said if we were high or whenever it was said, but I agree, whoever said it was, that this would have been a much better Disney Plus series, if they were doing that at this point in the stage of the game and make him introduced in this way than the way they did here. And really the biggest gripe I have, if I'm going into like nitpicking details, his character does not change.
It never does.
Even the worst Marvel movie, right? You know what? This is gonna be a bad thing to say. Even with Iron Man 3, and I did not.
This is why I went there.
This is I did not like Iron Man 3. At the very least I can say about Iron Man 3 is the fact that Tony had an arc. Wasn't a great arc. It wasn't the best. It was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But he was a changed person from the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie. So that even though he was still Tony, there was a life experience and a new perspective that he gained on himself and his life at the end of Iron Man 3. If anything, that was probably the redeeming quality of that movie, in my opinion. This did not have anything with character development. Strange was the same person through and through. He didn't do any sort of growth. He went to go find a cure for his hands and ended up becoming fucking Sorcerer Supreme. Which is like a regular Supreme which is like a regular sorcerer with all the toppings on it. But the point is that he doesn't change. The story's hollow, and really the only things I can take away from it is very small, minute details of it. And I think that, like we were saying before, the setup of stuff had plenty of opportunity to do some great growth or character change. But the villain sucked. The story was hollow. It was not a great, as a standalone movie, it was not that great. I would argue it's probably one of the worst ones.
Yeah. I mean, he goes from being the evil stepmother to the evil mother.
Yeah.
Like it's not, like, at no point he's not redeemable. The story is lackluster. The explanation of anything, I mean, I get it. Like, we go back in time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we can at least see the explanation. Though it might have gaps in it, there's explanation to some extent. This is just like, magic, bitch. Now you got it. And what is it? Anything you want, ever, whenever.
I can tell they were trying to go with the "it's not about you" story. I get they were trying to do that, because now that I think about it, I remember when he was trapping Dormammu in the infinite time loop, that he says, "You'll be stuck in this thing forever." He goes, "Yes, but the Earth will be saved." He goes, "You'll die all the time." He's like, "Pain's an old friend." So they were I can give them props for
old friend. This guy's in one accident.
Well, no, the part is, the point is that he was trying to, like, well, I mean, not the pain part, but they were trying to force the narrative of, oh, he's being selfless by doing this. And yeah, but they didn't really.
So, like, if he played the character the way the movie has set up the character, that shit would never happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only that, but they don't really emphasize that part too much. It's like,
that's what I mean. It's like a divergence from the character they created, only for it to be the leading reason for him to do what he's doing. It's like,
but it went to zero.
Like
it went from
turning
0
a
to
character
60.
good at the last second, even though you haven't really sprinkled enough for me to accept that.
But like, my point, like okay, he's a selfish prick. Goes to Kamar-Taj. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Learns how to do magic to heal his hands, and then, oh, by the way, this is all happening. This guy's evil. He's bad. We got to protect everything. Shit hits the fan. He finds out that the Ancient One uses dark magic. She dies, and then he's in charge. Like, there's no, you know what I mean? There's like no, like, growth period or in between where he's forced to reflect upon himself.
Well, here's the thing. He goes from being a surgeon to being the best wizard in the fucking planet. Like, it's an upgrade.
Yeah, well,
to be honest, and he hardly spends any time broken.
I know that's
time he spent, like, it's just like the movie fucking not a great movie. It's just not on any level. Is it not a great movie?
Well,
the only thing they have going for them,
some of the acting scenes are good. I will say that, and the
only thing they have going for them is they can afford the actors that are good, and they can afford the visuals that look good. But the movie as a whole, written,
it's very hollow.
Conceptualized, is fucking ass.
So, I think, I'll be very honest.
I'm going back to 3.5. Fuck it.
I'm going to give this one a 4. And the only reason I'm giving this a 4 is because I'm a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch. I think the acting is pretty decent. I'm not 7
in the past, which is sad.
What's that?
I really liked this movie when it first came out.
Yep.
I would have given it like a 7.
It's just, it's
like,
very, very hollow. So I'm going to give it a 4. I think the acting was good and the visuals. But other than that, unfortunately, there's not really much else substance to this. It is a setup movie for the end slate of the MCU. That's really what it is. That's very cut and dry. And I'll be honest, without going into too much spoiler territory, as I mentioned several times, I felt like the second Doctor Strange movie did better job of fleshing out a little bit more of him as a character than this one did. His fucking origin story. We'll talk about that at a later time, I'm sure. But anyway,
the second movie is as soulless as this one. Don't worry.
I'd have to think about it for a little bit, but I did throw the poll up in the chat. 10 votes this time around. Thank you all for voting in the chat. Thumbs up. 80% gave Doctor Strange a thumbs up. 20% gave a thumbs down. Of course, it's a little bit biased and obviously a little tougher to be more cut and dry, but. That being said, we're going to wrap up this week's edition of the Marvel Roundtable. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Heather and Basement, any last-minute thoughts before we wrap up this week's Marvel Roundtable?
Doing this roundtable is showing me that
you hate me.
Something that started small.
Yep.
Was actually a very good idea. Got gobbled up by big money-making corporation, got to huge scale, and just now is giving up on itself.
I mean, we're
so
not
that it can make as much money as possible off of visual effects and fight scenes.
Yeah.
We're not even to the point where like they hire on like big name directors in order for them to make a Marvel movie that they say, hey, here's my call sign at the 1 hour mark, the 1 hour 45 mark, and the 2 hour 35 mark, and you won't see me ever again because this is the movie I'm making.
Well,
no, I mean, yeah.
I think there's some strong contenders coming up in the next couple of weeks. So, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, Heather. I'm just saying is that I think there are a couple diamonds in the rough.
There definitely are. I mean, my problem is I would have been much more okay with diamonds in the rough if the rough wasn't the big
rough
picture. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like they've created expectation and they deliver certain things that are just like, oh God, man.
You know,
but why and what? Huh? So, like,
I definitely get you on that.
The missteps are a problem, and they really don't need to be. I feel like this movie was very lazily made, and I feel like when I say lazily made, it's not fair. I feel like I'm going to say the same thing for the second one, but I think the second one wasn't lazily made. I think the second one had a lot of fucking people being like, but we want this, but we want that.
Well, we'll talk more about the second one when we get to it, because I think there was a lot of things going into it that had some great momentum, and I think also it got kind of like overhyped.
I feel like the second movie is a mess, and the main reason is because so many people were being.
But we'll definitely get there. But want to thank everybody for tuning into the chat. Thank you all for tuning in here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Horny Goat, and everywhere you guys are listening to us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Make sure you check out last week's episode of No Bucks Given. We were stoned off our asses, so make sure you check it out on the YouTube channel. Also, come back and join us tomorrow as we will be back with Horny Goat Wrestling, and I believe this Friday we'll be kicking off the first round or first week of our custom GM mode, where each one of us has our own brands. I think we're doing that Friday? Question mark?
I don't see why Raw and NXT shouldn't start it off.
Cool. We'll work it out.
Mark?
What's that?
What? NXT? Oh my God.
We'll figure out the details, but make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you guys check us out. And, of course, join us next week right here on the channel and, of course, the podcast network, where we continue the Marvel Roundtable as we go back to the stars as James Gunn once again takes the director's seat. And can he pull off lightning striking twice in the same area or the same part of the universe in this place? As we go back in space, next week on the Marvel Roundtable, we discuss Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.